And we are live. This is going to be a little unreal here for a moment, dealing with a new background because we're going live today on YouTube for once, just to see how this can work and if we're going to continue with this. But as of right now, at the very least, we're excited. We're happy. We got the feeds on the background with all the mess that happened today because holy crap, we had a blind side. We had something finally go our way in this game. And on top of that, I feel like we're closing a chapter in this part of the game. I truly do believe that at this time, we're moving on to the next phase of this game. And with what happened tonight, we have a lot to talk about, especially with what happened a few hours before the episode even dropped today. So, starting us off, my name's Kyle. Welcome to the BB Brains. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about week 4 of Big Brother 28. And as we saw tonight, not only was Lyric blindsided, but so was the Red Corner as well as Yash. But what led to this? What led to this crazy vote tonight, along with the fact that we had so much go down in the span of this entire week? Because as of a few days ago, it was looking like Drew was going home. Then it just switched to Melody. Then as of today, switched to Lyric. So how did we get here? Well, we'll go all the way back to the after events that followed after Jason's eviction, and we'll go from there. So join me as we discuss about tonight's episode, as well as the other ones this week. So, it's going all the way back to Sunday's episode. I feel like I'm cursing these people at this point with my rankings, but we start the episode off on Sunday with Drew and Melody, where they're celebrating Mallory's win. Taylor not going for the vote and how they need to win the HOH. Basically, it was just like the other side is just like fully aware of the situation. That's like there's one side of the house, which was the tool shed, versus the other remnants of the house. And they're just like, we got to band together. We have to fight. And we get a lot of that in like the content leading up to the HOH, where Drew is just like, yeah, we can do it. And then in his confessional, it's like, yeah, I'm throwing this crap. No. Gonna be kind of hard to do that tonight, though. And again, I'm just waiting for the live feeds to show the competition, which sucks though, because tonight it's supposed to start at like, I think like 11 p.m. Central Time for me, and it's just like, I want the live competition now. But after that Drew and Melody conversation, we then have Barrett and Mallory talking, where Mallory is, obviously celebrating her being safe and apprehensive about, and then we have Barrett being apprehensive about the tool shed. But that's just like Barrett's entire edit at this point, where he just like feels like he's on the bottom, which he is, and just wants to flip. Of course, there's just like nothing that they're really doing with that at this time, unfortunately. But what can you do there? Then we get a conversation with Taylor, Mallory, Melody, and Lala. They all discuss about Drew being shady and playing both sides, with how Haley talked crap about Melody. And it's just like, it's kind of obvious that they are aware of the situation, but it's just like, they kind of know that they need to have Drew at the very least. So it's like they're at least keeping him at a distance, but, kind of like work with what you got there. And then we get like a whole Haley, Chuck, and Angela conversation about backdooring Drew if they win HOH, with Dylan a fan of Drew as well, where it shows like the conversation with him, Drew, and Barrett about the keep Mallory, which he was not a fan of. Granted, that whole conversation was taken out of context, and even though Devins was fully against this, the way that it was shown was very much just like not how that whole conversation went in that prior week. But here and there on that. It is just very interesting that they're very much like at the beginning that we setting up the Drew blind side because that's how I was looking at the time, and then again with like the previous episode yesterday and part of today looking like the Melody blind side of it all instead. Uh, but after that, we get the HOH competition where we travel to 1888. And this week is probably like a week where I'm like loving all the challenges because these were the challenges that I loved that were introduced last year in Big Brother 27. So we get the one where Rachel wins her HOH, and then we get the POV that Mickey won, RIP. And I really wonder if like Mickey was still around, that she might be the one to host. Granted, I am seeing a theory going around that like every person that's like an alum that's been like introduced every week has been like brought in as to like potentially be that player to aid in like the power of veto competition as a per that like potential reward that you could get if you were voted for the time capsule, which I mean it would kind of make sense because you got Mr. Spectacular for one, Morgan for another. It's kind of like kind of see it, but it's just very interesting that also in that HOH competition you also get like a little reference to Cliff Hogg and Victoria, which I'm not the biggest fan of either, but I do appreciate that the season feels very much like a love letter to the show. Funnily, I don't know. It's very interesting in that regard. But anyway, in the competition, you're basically trying to avoid Jack the Ripper, and like you're trying to study the rooms. And in those rooms, you want to make sure that you're in the correct one, so you're not eliminated. And as the competition went on, there was a deal made between Haley and Lyric, where Haley would not nominate her, which could go either way. I mean, obviously, Lyric was trying to do everything that she could to protect herself in this game. So then she would be able to be safe following after like Jason and Rome's eviction. I think she did everything in her right power. I think she just did it too well on the guys and just kind of got screwed over with having Haley as the HOH, as she's the one that wins the competition. It would have been also interesting to see how Yash would have done as an HOH this week had he won. But the fact that he was part of the blind side tonight, look at well there. Ooh, so it's like, what can you do on that? But anyway, after that though, that HOH competition, we have Dee and Devin celebrating Haley's win because it's the best case scenario for them because obviously they'll be safe. Like, although after this whole vote scenario, and again, just like looking at like the animosity that's like going on the feeds right now, I feel like this is a nail in the coffin. I think the whole Tool Shed alliance, I think, is dead. I truly do think that I don't think the Red Corner is going to believe this whole flip scenario. And if they do, they're just whatever at that point. But the fact that they've been snowed by the vets plenty these past few weeks, I wouldn't be shocked. But after that conversation, we got Mel and Mallory just like, actually, I do like to say, like, when it came to the Dee and Devon's conversation and then switch over to Mel and Mallory, where they were just like, this is the best case scenario, and then switch to Mel and Mallory. This is the worst case scenario. I do like that transition. That's always like a little funny when you see something like that happen. And Mel is basically worried about being the nominee, and Drew is just like feeling safe in that whole scenario, which he shouldn't. But I mean, with how Angela has just been feeding the paranoia that she's been having about him since week 2, I want to say, it's just like it gets to a point where, I don't know. It's either like the Big Brother house craziness just takes over, or it's just like Angela's paranoia just rubs off on people, and it just got to a point where the Drew paranoia just like got to everyone in the Tool Shed. But either way, we get a conversation with Haley and Devins, and Haley is complaining about Taylor's comment about the sugar-free candy because when they're going into the house and are celebrating and stuff, and Haley's like, I can't wait to have all my healthy foods and stuff. And Taylor's like, I'd rather have all real sugar and blah blah blah. It was pissed Haley off. Again, they're trying to do their best to like validate whatever Haley's reason was in nominating Taylor, which was stupid to begin with. But the fact that they were just like really pushing this narrative is because like she was talking about the snacks, and then Haley is just like talking to Devin where she's going to basically bring up before she reads her letter from home how all the fake people are going to get called out, and she's going to blah 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 just make men look like asses, which again is just like her reheating Camus, I don't know, half made nachos. It was just like such a bad idea. And Devins, being an agent of chaos, obviously was encouraging this. And I do love that Dean Devins are encouraging people to make bad moves, because obviously it pivots any attention that would be on them to those people making the bad moves. And Lord behold, like once we get the Lala and Taylor conversation about how Melanie is like been talking crap about Haley, and they want to throw her under the bus to protect each other. There's like an interesting conversation that's being said where Taylor feels like she's playing for two, where she's playing both for herself and for Lala. And to me, it's a double-edged sword. I get where she's coming from, where it's like if you're, playing for two and you're playing for Lala, it's like if you two were to go to the end, clearly you're going to win because you were playing for two. Double-edged sword to that, though, because you're playing for two and everyone likely will be aware of that, they'd rather take you out over Lala. And I feel like when it came to the whole scenario of last week between Jason and Lala, I'd rather have kept Jason over Lala, because at least then the votes would have been pivoted onto Jason than would on Lala. But that's here or there and that. They're both safe at the very least. And I don't know. Come to World tonight, we'll see how Taylor and Lala fare. I mean, Lala is pretty strong. This is a very fit cast. They might stay up there for a while for the World Comp this time around, which I'm all for, honestly, because that would be a really fun watch. But after the conversation, we do get the HOH room reveal, and like I said, Haley decides to just throw it out there, like anyone who's talked shit about her, they can leave the room, and everyone's just like, and then you see like the whole diary rooms of all of them just like crapping on her, because like, yeah, we all hate you. And honestly, I feel like this is where my love for Melody has really come up this week, because I think she has really become like Brittany Haynes of this season. She's very vocal about being hating on players. She's very much just like being herself in the DRs. And I truly do love that for her. And I'm so glad that she was able to be safe tonight and able to make it to the next round, because I do think that the next round is looking to be like Red Corner and Yash as a backup option as the main targets for next week. And yeah, there could be a chance that Chuck or Hamu could win the HOH, or even Yash, but I don't know. Yash could go 50-50 with that. But apparently Hamu was a have-not this week, so Slop Diet going into an endurance comp might not be the best. And then Chuck, I don't know if he's going to be well built for that compared to someone like D, Melody, maybe even Barrett. I mean, we saw it last year with Vince, so it'll be interesting to say the least. But after that awkward moment, we got basically Lala, Camu, Haley, and Angela, where Lala is throwing Melody and Mallory under the bus per Taylor's instructions, and she is just trying her best to protect herself, which worked in her favor. It just didn't work well on Taylor's, but I think it was already like a set and done deal at that point. After that, though, we get the BB time capsule, which, shocker, D wins it. The first three winners are the vets. Like, come on, were we expecting anyone else? Like, I keep saying this every week. It was just like, all right, a vet's gonna win it, and then they're gonna do it. And at least this time around, it's not Diamond Power Veto that's won. And it was just like the bribery award that D got, which I'm okay with, because it's not going to do much in the game. I do appreciate, though, that you could affect potential votes or anything with it, and it has to be done. I do wonder though if you could do it for a jury vote, because if you can do it for a jury vote, that's going to be the most interesting to see play out. Because if you're just bribing someone for a jury vote and get an extra stipend amount, like, I mean, are they going to really care at that point? Not really. So that'd be like easy money. So that'd be really fun if that were to happen. And I do like the fact that D is willing to hide that from Devins. And I think that's the difference between D and Devins. D is more self interested. Devins is like more in it for the cameras in terms of self interest than he is for the game. And I think that is where they're going to differentiate in the coming weeks. And I just wonder when it's going to clash and who is going to come out on top on that. I mean, granted, Devins has a diamond power veto, which could definitely trump over a one person bride, but you just never know, honestly. I mean, this is D we're talking about. This whole vote today was basically started because of D. So we'll see how that's going to happen. But after that, we got a conversation with Haley and Melody where Haley basically calls out Melody for talking shit about her with the Lala comments and everything. And Melody confirms it. She's just like, yeah, you caught me. I don't really like you. And basically, she would nominate her. And quite honestly, at that point, it's just like, why not at that point just say it? Why not be the one to actively admit that, you are caught and you're just like, well, that's what I was intending. And Haley had the audacity where she was telling her, it's like, I don't know why you would say that. I had a rough 3 weeks. And I'm just like, what? And Melody is even just like, bitch, what? And like, again, it's why I love Melody's DRs, because it does feel like Brittany Haynes, where she's just like talking the most smack about her and is just so pissed off at her because like she was struggling for the first 3 weeks of the game. She's lost allies and friends the first 3 weeks of the game, whereas Haley's had it good like this entire time. This is the first bad week in her game, and it's starting her HOH. That's like the only thing she can complain about this time. And honestly, she's probably been complaining about it for the rest of the game. Well, let's be real here. But after that, we have a Barrett and Haley conversation, and Haley is essentially pushing that Drew is likely going to be the nomination. And this is where I feel like Barrett is just like a bad ally. I get where he's coming from, where he's saying like he cannot like tell Drew because Drew might blab, which is fair. But on the opposite spectrum of that, if he's your ride or die, you at least should hit something, because I don't know. It just feels like Barrett is just too scared to attempt something, because I feel like he wants to make jury and that's when he's gonna do something. But if that's the case with him, I just don't know if he's going to do much in this game. And it just sucks because he is still in a decent position despite all of this. So it's just so wishy-washy there. But, Haley tells him this. He basically says, like, Drew is likely going to be the nominee between Melody and Taylor, and he's just not the best for it. But she's trying to push it as, like, an optics thing, which is kind of BS, and we all know it's BS. But again, Barrett just doesn't want to do anything to push the target onto him. And then right after that conversation, we see Haley and Drew talk, and she basically tells him that he's going to go up as that pawn, pawn in parentheses. And, Drew's obviously concerned about it, but as the week has gone on, I feel like he's just been blissfully unaware that he was like just so close to being like an evictee this week. Granted, with him winning the competition didn't really matter, but his ass was definitely on the line at a lot of points this week. And then we end the episode with the nominations, with it being Melody, Taylor, and Drew. No one was kind of shocked there by that. And I mean, in terms of HOH nominations, I think Haley did make the right call, because, Taylor, I feel like, was targeting Haley. Melody was targeting Haley. Drew, though, was kind of a dumb choice. Like, you could have done Yash, you could have done Lala, you could have done Mallory. It's like you had options. I just think she just wanted to do that because of the whole snowing of Angela with the whole alliance thing, not trusting Drew. but whatever there. So we get into yesterday's episode with the veto episode. And what happened over the course of the week was essentially a lot of the Drew like is going home stuff. Like everyone just kind of like on board with the plan that Drew is the target. And it was just like very much looking like a foregone conclusion that Drew was a goner, really. Until it really came to like, I want to say Tuesday afternoon going into the night where Dee and Devins basically were just like talking. That was like shown on the episode where like, why are we targeting Drew again? So we'll get into that in a bit. But we start the episode off with Melody, Mallory, and Lyric complaining about the hard 3 weeks comment that Haley made and how they just hate her. And then in that conversation, Lyric is just ready to jump ship from the trio and basically just like, I want to go to the winning team. And she then talks to Kamu about distancing herself from the girls and wanting to start a strong alliance with people that could win competitions to help her. And I feel like she was doing the right things. It's just that I feel like jealousy from Haley regarding her closest to Kamu, and Kamu really is kind of like reciprocating some feelings on Lyric, because as we recall like a few weeks ago, Rome and her did the fake breakup, and that fake breakup was her flirting with some of the guys from the red corner. And I think it worked too well because you got Kamu and Chuck really defending her to Haley to a point where it just pissed off Haley. However, this is something that really came to my attention a few days ago. Apparently, Haley has an ex that looks similarly close to Kamu, which is very interesting because if part of Haley's logic of working with Kamu, as well as like her decision making regarding him and Lyric, revolves around this ex, that might explain some things with her and why explain why she did what she did this week in terms of the renoms. But it's just kind of hilarious if that is the case. But going back to the conversation at hand, we got Taylor, Haley, and Angela talking. And we have Taylor basically asking Haley why she was the nominee. And Haley basically gave like a bullshit excuse where it was just like she felt uncomfortable with Taylor laughing regarding the teapot situation when it showed a flashback of everyone laughing. Like, it's just like the edit, like it is very clear production does not like Haley. They don't like Haley so much that in tonight's episode, in the recap, they called her Thog. Thog is like the name people are using as a means to make fun of Haley. This is like, I never seen like a house guest so hated by production that they're just like mocking her this badly in a bit. And I'm all for it because I don't like Haley either. But it's just very much like them just going in. And I'm like very happy that they're just, the production's just like, not a fan of Haley, not a fan of Kamu. And, you know, where's Chuck in the edit? You see him like 5 seconds in like an episode for most part. But yeah, that's the BS excuse that she gave Taylor. And, you know, Taylor obviously gives the real reason to Angela when Taylor leaves the room. But again, it's just like, why even lie? And then after that conversation, we got Taylor and Lala talking where Taylor assumes she's the target and that they want Haley out next, which again, you know, kind of like given there. And after that, we have like a fun moment where like Angela is in like the hammock, just like basically talking to her family to the cameras, and like Dee just sneaks up on her and scares her. We're at that point, like we're already getting to that point in the season where it's just like we have to have like random fluff moments to just, you know, pad out the episode, because of course for our Wednesday episodes we have to have an hour and a half for them, and you know, I guess you got to have something for filler. I guess better than watching Rome and Lyric make out. I'll say that much. But after that, we have Haley and Kamu talking to each other, and Kamu vouches for Lyric, which pushes and is trying to push Drew to be the main target for the week and replace Lyric within the alliance, which Haley is just very much put off by. Like, and honestly, if I was in Haley's position, like jealousy aside, she has some logic there because why are we doing all this for Lyric to keep her safe, to actually introduce her into like the Toolshed Alliance and replace Drew with that? That feels very much just like you're doing way too much for this person, especially after they just like lost their allies. You can just tell it's like, hey, they might be desperate, and you're just might be doing too much there. So I can at least understand where Haley's coming from. I feel like Kamu's doing too much in that regard, but I feel like he also has a crush on Lyric. So I feel like it's like a weird love triangle again with just how awkward it is. And Lyric like doesn't even like any of them. After that, though, we get a Drew and Devon's conversation. Drew notes he wants to target Haley, and then Devon's notes about how he wants to target the red corner prior. And again, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like the paranoia has really gone in Devon's head from Angela regarding Drew. And what's very interesting is like Drew, Devon's isn't like really much of a fan of Angela anymore. So the fact that he's like still on that case with Drew from what Angela has done, it's just like feels so all over the place. And I get where Devon's is coming from, where he's just like, yeah, he wants to target the red corner, but it's just like, well, what do you want him to do in the alliance when it gets to that point? Do you want him to target you? He's loyal to you. He's been loyal to you this entire time, and you're just like so apprehensive because of all the paranoia. But at the very least, like we get that changed like later in the week. But after that, we got Haley, D, Devons, and Angela and Chuck talking, and basically they're discussing about Drew being the main target. They don't trust him, and that the edit's really protecting the veterans because they're really trying to make this look like this was like an organic thing when really this all stems from Angela having paranoia about Drew, which spread to D, which spread to Devons, which spread to the rest of the red corner. And it's just so stupid with how much they're trying to protect the veterans with this edit. But I'm not surprised because they've always done this in the past for the veteran players. So it's just like, what can they do at that point? But this whole thing stems from that paranoia, but they're trying to make it look like it's just like a whole group mentality thing forming of them not trusting Drew because they think he's sneaky when really he's just loyal. And then after that, we got a D and Devon's conversation. They know about how D wants to go to the end with Devons, but wants to differentiate a game with him. And again, noting about how she wants to like utilize her power and even bring that up in the end. Granted, compared to Survivor, where it's like you could maybe do that in a short format, but I just keep thinking back to Big Brother 20, where like Tyler Crispin had that power he never used, and he revolved so much of his endgame on that when it came to his final speech that just kind of like turned off a good chunk of the jury and had him lose. I hope he doesn't do that, but I feel like this is like kind of like an alludedness to that. But again, I don't know why you're even talking about final two stuff when you're not even in the jury point yet. Like, I know it's like week 4, but calm down a little on that. But after that, and this was like a very interesting thing because we had form this week. We had a Yash and Lyric final 2 form, and I kind of felt like that could have done some numbers. I think because the two definitely knew they were in the middle. They knew that they had to jump ship from the other side to the side that has been winning competitions as of late. I understand where they were going with that, and I think they made the right call to do that because honestly, how could you not? Like, if they've been in power for almost, well, not almost the entirety of the game, I mean, might as well flip, might as well jump ship, and might as well make a final 2 together because if they start infighting, you at least have each other, and you can just help pick the other sides apart. It's just, again, with how Lyric handled this whole week and how basically the jealousy from Haley kind of affected it all, it just kind of blew up in her face when it could have really done some numbers. But after that, we got Lyric and Haley talk. And again, Lyric is trying to jump ship. Haley isn't a fan of it because of how fast she's been doing it. And it's very interesting because it's like kind of fits into that narrative of what Melody has done. And it's just like Mallory is like the only one that has not jumped ship from that crew. And she is like probably one of the most loyal people to it, which is the most hilarious thing of it all. And then after that, we have Dee and Bear talking, and they're discussing the Drew vote again. And she's basically just telling him like what he needs to hear to gain favor with him, which is the right call because Barrett again is on the bottom and he is very much aware of what's going on, but he's nervous of being a potential backup for the renom if we're to say anything. So he's just being skittish as always, you know. And after that, we got the Haley and Drew conversation where Haley is pretty much BSing Drew on the nom status, saying that he's a pawn when he's not, and how she wouldn't use the veto because she felt like he'd be safe, which again, I feel like would have been a red flag in my eyes. Because if my ally nominate me as a pawn, but doesn't intend to take me off the block, I'm not a pawn anymore. I will assume that I am the target. But after that, we get veto picks, and then Mallory is one of the picks, and then the House's choice was done from Haley, and she picks Chuck. Whatever there. I would have, I don't know. Chuck and Kamu, I think I would have picked Kamu over Chuck, but I don't know. If they needed to get Chuck some airtime, I guess. And then after that, we have Drew and Chuck talking. And again, this is probably the most content we got at Chuck in this episode or of the season in general, where again, we get some content with him and how he is with the whole alliance, and basically kind of confirms with the Drew and Chuck conversation that he doesn't trust Drew and he's willing to let him go in the alliance. After that, we have a conversation with Lyric and Taylor, and they are discussing Lyric, like Lyric cheering her up. He's like, "What was your mom doing?" And like Taylor's like, "My mom would say to go home." And it's just like that just ends the conversation right there. But they ended like we're just need to like fight and hopefully they could win. And then after that, we get the introduction to the veto competition with Morgan from last year arriving as the host for the competition, where she is going to take the team, take the house guests to February 18th, 1752, where they're going to play again one of my favorite new comps from last year, the wine glass string competition, which is like a game of chicken essentially, of either like, hey, you got to choose this glass or you got to choose this one, you know, and then you drink it, you either spit up whatever solution that they put in there to have whatever foams in your mouth, or you just have like a regular glass. And again, it's very funny in the episode because you have Haley saying like, "Oh, I don't drink much," but then it's like after the veto competition, everything you see her like chugging a bottle of wine. It's like, okay, Haley, it's like everything that comes out of Haley's mouth is a lie. It's like, girl, you're not 29. Sure, you don't drink as much. Like, it's like, come on, Haley, be real with us. Like, come on. But like the competition is always fun. It's like I again, my two favorite new comps for last year being the comps for this week. I think it's very fun, and I do love the concept of it just being like a matter of like who are you going to choose to attempt to poison and like try to progress throughout the game. And the fact that it came down to Taylor and Chuck was very interesting because Chuck is very robotic and Taylor, working with children and everything and being a counselor, and she's very good at like just reading people. And I really do think that's probably what got them to the end of the competition and why essentially at the end Taylor kind of just cleared house. I will say, and I have noted this I think before about Devins, where just like at one point where Drew was taken out of the competition, Devins checked him and it was just like making a whole scene of it. And I'm just like, this scene chewing, it's happening again. Devins, this isn't your competition. Let other people have their moment. Like, bro, come on. It was just kind of annoying there. But, Taylor wins the competition. Congratulations to her. Morgan bids her farewells to everyone and then heads out of the house. After that, we get Drew, Barrett, and Devins talking. Drew is panicking as a nominee, and could be the target. Devins and Barrett basically lie to him. We're just like, no, you're totally fine. But they're just like, yeah, you're likely the target. And after that, we got Mallory and Lyric talking where they discuss the nominees. Lyric was told by Haley at the HOA comp that she's safe, but she's still a little concerned about that. Melody then joins in and they ask about Drew, which she's upset about because, I feel like with this edit, and I like this more than what we have with Roman Lyric. It's like it's definitely given like Melody and Drew are they a will they or won't they type of showmance, and I like those more because it's actually more interesting to watch because it's like reminiscent to Jeff and Jordan from Big Brother 11. I was a big fan of them back in the day, not so much now, but their will they won't they showmance was what really helped carry the season, other than the fights that they had every week with the whole house. But that's neither here nor there on that. But I do like those types of showmances more because it's like it might not be a showmance, it could be a showmance, but at least it gives us interest to see rather than just like here's another makeout session type of segment, So I kind of prefer those more, and I do like that they're just like getting like a little bit of like snippets here and there with that. And after that, we get Haley, Kamu, Chuck, and Angela talking. Kamu again pushing for Lyric to work with them and not nominate her, but Haley is not a fan of it. She's not wanting to do Mallory, even though they're trying to push for it right now, and it's kind of like irking the whole group. And this was like a real whole thing the other night because this whole thing led to like some arguments, led to Haley really being pissed off at Kamu being pissed off at her. It led to like an apology between the two later, but they were really just like get heated like in all of this because they were just not like vibing with each other with what the other wanted. And Angela, notes that Haley might be jealous of Lyric and Kamu's relationship, which she's not wrong about because again, if Kamu reminded her of an ex, I can see why she wanted Lyric out. After that, we get a conversation between Haley and Mallory, where Haley basically offers Mallory, hey, I will nominate you if you promise to protect me. And Mallory's like, yeah, sure. Which I think is the right call for Mallory. It's like, why are you not going to make a deal like that? It's like, I won't be on the block. I won't have to nominate you, but I can still nominate your allies. Perfect. Awesome. So, and do I even think Mallory is going to do that? I honestly don't think so. I think she would still nominate the entire red corner. That whole side of the house hates the red corner. I truly, 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 truly don't believe that Mallory is going to do that. And even if she does, she'll probably nominate a veteran or something. But even then, we'll see how that whole goes out with the Diamond Power veto if that was to be mentioned by Devins. So after that conversation, Lyric and Mallory talk, and Mallory discusses who they target, and Lyric uses info that Mallory gave her to throw under the bus to Haley in the next conversation following after. And it's so hilarious that it comes from Haley that she's basically telling her, like, you're really not a girl's girl because why are you throwing all your girlfriends under the bus? I thought you were loyal to them. And it's just like, Haley is just on Lyric's neck the entire episode. And she is just like, I don't give a shit. You're going on the block. And when it came to the veto ceremony, Taylor uses the veto on herself and Lyric goes up. And apparently, like, Drew made this like elaborate speech to be used that was going to be shown, but, didn't show in the edit. I just don't think anyone should really do anything for the veto ceremony in terms of speeches that they think might make the show, because 9 times out of 10 it's not. No one really cares what the veto speeches are because really it's not going to convince much. It's not like we have a Tucker situation where we have that much of an agent of chaos that they're going to use it on someone on the block next to them. It's not going to happen most of the time. And quite honestly, it's just like the speeches are kind of just like a null and void thing. It's just the same with have-nots. But that's my opinion on that. So that's how we end that episode off yesterday. And we start tonight's episode off again, mogging on Thog, aka Haley. And I am just loving that again, production just doesn't love her. And we start the episode with Kamu and Drew talking to each other. And basically, again, Drew, like Kamu is just ready to just blindside Drew and take him out of the game. but just be fake about their final two. Again, it is around this point of the game where D and Devins are kind of like ready to flip. It's like again, kind of like I want to say like Tuesday, where it started to happen and shift, where then the target will then push onto Melody unless she like won the competition tonight. But again, as of today, it's switched over to Lyric, which I can actually talk about at this point. Well, actually, I'll hold it off a little more after we get through some of the other notes for the episode. We have Lyric, Melody, and Mallory talking, and Lyric basically tells them, "Sorry, I threw you guys under the bus. I had to do it to protect myself, but I'm so sorry." Mallory is just upset with her. Melody's like, "I'm ready to punch this bitch in the face." Like she is just like Mallory's like one end of the spectrum of sadness. Melody's on the other, and quite honestly, if I was Melody, I think I would be on Team Melody for this one because, like, what do you mean you threw us all under the bus? What do you mean you're apologizing for it? Do you think that's like good to do it now? Like, it's just I don't know. It's like it really just shows like loyalties and all that fun stuff. And like, I love the dynamic of the Giggle Girls. I hate that they had to be broken up so soon, but of the Giggle Girls to be broken up, I am happy that it's Lyric over the other two. Because really Lyric was like just willing to throw anyone under the bus at any time. And I think when it comes to the game of Big Brother or even Survivor or any other reality show, you have to be flexible. And even sometimes having to throw allies under the bus. But I think she was too flexible in that regard and went a little too crazy with that ultimately led to her demise tonight. But after the conversation, we got Drew, Devins, and Barrett talking. They discuss Drew about the block, and Barrett wants to tell Drew about him being the target, but obviously he won't. And then Devin knows that Drew's game is done, and although he feels like it's not the right decision when in the confessional, where we then move to a conversation with Drew and Melody. However, they had like a little bit of their flirt man segment because I want to give one more in just in case if the plan wasn't to pop off tonight, if Lyric was to win the blockbuster. So just to get a little bit of that. But we get to the juiciness of it then with the D, Devins, and Drew conversation, where they discuss keeping Lyric over Melody, with Drew pushing to keep Melody over Lyric. And D is realizing that Drew is a problem, but more of a problem for the red corner than it is for her and the veterans, which then leads to a conversation with D and Devins where they basically are coming up with the flip, where it kind of looked like they all came up with it, but there's like conversations that was kind of cut from it. There was just like, was it them that came up with it, or was it production like kind of nudging them in another direction through their diary rooms? It's like little hearsay on that part, but after that, we get D and Angela talking. D pushes that maybe we should keep Drew. And Angela, who was like the whole brain leaner in all of this, basically like says, I wanted to get Drew out, but since everyone sees him as a shady person like I do now, we can hold him and just take him out when we need to, which again, whatever there, Angela. So then the vets then all reconvene together. They want to keep Drew safe, but they want to push this onto the red corner and essentially make it look like it was their idea, which we got to a conversation with them, and they were just basically trying to plant those seeds, which is what we got for this whole vote for the episode. Now, with that being said, of the whole situation, it is very much prominent to discuss what happened today that led to this vote tonight, because we're probably gonna get snippets of it in the episode on Sunday because there was no way they could have fit that in because this was like a few hours before the episode even aired. But essentially, D basically pushed for another flip. She was like, if we're gonna keep Drew, why not keep Drew happy and with us by also protecting Melody? So they basically came up with a plan to take out Lyric and blindside the red corner, because apparently the night before as well, and it kind of like threw them, like put them like give them a little bit of the ick, but like Drew gave Kamu a Bible to swear on that he would not vote for him, and he didn't do it. And it kind of gave the vets a little bit of an ick there. And they're just like, you know what? Screw the red corner. Let's just blindside them, take them out, get Drew and Melody, and snag Mallory as well. Since she's with Barrett, we can form our new alliance and just take out the red corners. So then that way we can just dominate these people going forward, which I'm all for. If we get a new alliance of the veterans with Drew, Barrett, Mallory, and Melody, I'm all for this. I am all for this type of alliance. Take out the crappy side of the house and maybe just like, drag Taylor and Lala along with them, just so then that way the red corner and Yasha are just gone, which I'm okay with. Then at that point, just boop 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 boop. Fifth out, sixth out, seventh, and eighth out, by all means. So then that way, come final nine, that's our jury phase. I'm all for it. So that was the plan today. And, obviously all of that all hinged on whether if they were going to win, like go into the BBB with the, either Drew winning or Melody winning. So it was a very interesting toss this week because it really looked like at the beginning of the week, Drew was the main target. Then come the middle of the week, it was looking like Melody had no chance. And then with all of the shenanigans that happened within the past 24 hours, it all turned on Lyric. And when it came to the Big Brother blockbuster, and it is so hilarious that the girl who wore pigtails speaks in a baby voice and just like hinges on the fact that, she wanted to play a very cutthroat game, throw everyone under the bus, gets her game blown up by a Paw Patrol puzzle. Big Brother can't be serious sometimes, and Big Brother just can't be real. I know they do a lot of like movie deals and stuff and everything. This is like the most egregious one of all of them, and I just find it so hilarious that Lyric is the one that gets voted out because she lost a Paw Patrol puzzle. And what's even worse, probably one of the first things she's going to be told about after leaving the game is about how she announced yesterday how she pees in the shower daily, the communal showers. Like, just like from her own volition, for her to announce, it's just, inside thoughts are a thing. And Gen Z, I'm calling you out on this. Keep them in your head. Inside thoughts, please keep them in your head. This is one of them. Because otherwise, you might get on TMZ articles saying you're peeing in showers. So imagine getting evicted the night where these articles are out and rampant. Lyric's going to have a rough week. I'm just going to say that right now. Like, Katy Perry is already probably mogging her as we speak. But we get to the puzzle, and Lyric does well in the beginning, I will say. I feel like she came close. She was definitely, I would say, the first one to complete the base layer, but struggled with the top layer puzzle, where Drew clinches his win, where I think Lyric was like one puzzle piece behind. So Drew wins. We get to the vote, and by a vote of 8-3, with the 3 votes being Kamu, Yash, and Chuck, Lyric is evicted. And it is a blind side. You see Haley being shot. You see Kamu being shot. You see everyone from the red corner and Yash just like, what? And like, you got like the little girls crying, hugging together before saying goodbye to Lyric. And once Lyric is approached by Julie, she asks her like who she would have targeted, which would have been Drew and Barrett, which I'm like, ugh. And Julie at least like, calls her out on it. It's like, you're not going to target the veterans? And she's like, well, I just thought they would protect me. It's like, yeah, because they're going to protect everyone. And then we get like a little snippet of like Julie bringing in Josh from Big Brother 19. Like, he's going to be the guest for Unlock this week. And it's like, all right, whatever. But that's our episodes for this week. And, I feel like I'm cursing the people that I'm going to do in my final rankings, because last week I had Lyric as my number 4. And then the week before that, let's see, for week 3, trying to find that. Yeah, no, week 2. Yeah, like Devon's, but like I had Kamu at number 2. I don't know. Every one of the newbies I'm ranking highly, somehow they just like crash and burn in some way. And it's just like, I feel like I'm just like cursing these people. But we'll get into my BB rankings. And it's going to be very interesting for this week. So obviously, going up for the bottom, we got Ashley, Rome, Jason, and now Lyric for 17 through 14. And at the 13th spot, it's Kamu. Kamu is probably going to be enemy number 1 in this house going into next week. If no one from the red corner wins HOH, Kamu is going on the block. And if he is the final nominee, he is definitely going home. Because compared to a Haley or a Chuck, I think the house would rather take Chuck out, not Chuck, take Kamu out more than anything. Because Kamu could likely win competitions and he could likely just steamroll. So either Kamu needs to win this HOH. Granted, he was on slop this week, so that could bite him in the butt. It's not looking pretty for him. And I think anyone from the right corner could go, which is going to be a big hit to Kamu, regardless if he would stay or not. So he's definitely going on the bottom as my 13. And then at 12, Haley. Because just as much as Kamu's hated, Haley is just as much, if not more. But at the very least, if it's like between the two, they'll likely pick Kamu as the one to go rather. But if Kamu was to be like taken off the block, whether it's like through a veto or the blockbuster, Haley is like the next one in line. No questions there. And then after her at 11 is Chuck. Again, the whole red corner is in danger this week. And, if Kamu is safe and Haley is safe, Chuck is the next best option. That's what's going to happen in that regard. And Chuck doesn't have as many good connections in the game either, so he's not going to be able to do much. So at number 10, I got Yash. Yash, I feel like he was on the roll. I think he was building up his game. He was setting up for good stuff there. But when it came to this vote flip today, he was on the outs of the vote. No one told him what was going to happen. And now, because his number 2 Lyric is gone, he's in a position where he's likely going to be the renom if like people are going to put up the red corner. Because who's going to be the one to go up? Well, obviously the one that voted with them. So I can see him being some danger. And if there is a flip of any kind that could go against him, because who knows what could happen with the tool shed situation, he could be the next one gone. So it's going to be looking rough for Yash if noms are going to be changed or anything, if a veto is used, if all 3 of the red corner people are up on the block. And then after Yash, it's Lala. Lala, I want you to do good. I want you to do something. But the fact that Taylor is carrying her game and she is just not contributing much in general, it's like, what? I can't do her any higher. She's at least going to be safer than the other 4, but that's all she's got at the moment. Because it's only going to get to a point where people are either going to drag her far because they know they can beat her, or she's just going to be like a double eviction fodder boot. It's going to be one of the two. And after Lala, I have Melody. I love Melody. I love her to death. But she is messy. She is kind of rough socially at times. She is putting herself in a position where her voice, her antics might get her more in trouble than anything. And I do appreciate her bluntness, but that bluntness can also bite her back. So even though she's in an okay-ish position now, she can still be a threat. She can still be a nominee, because if someone from the right corner was to win HOH again, she is going on the block. There's a very good chance she could be the target. So unfortunately, that's what that could look like there. And after her is Mallory. Mallory at 7, I feel like is the right position in the middle of where everything is at this time, because she's not in the major alliances. She's just lost in LA and Lyric, but she has some agency in the game. She knows what she's doing. She can do well in competitions. So I feel like if she could, and I feel like she is one of the contenders, I feel, for the wall comp tonight. I feel like if she was to win the wall comp and win an HOH, I feel like she could potentially really help improve her game and actually do some damage to the other side, and actually maybe build that alliance that could potentially form because of this blind side tonight. but we'll have to see how that goes. At number 6, I have Barrett. Barrett, again, I really wish I could rank lower because he's just like playing with his tail tucked behind his legs, but it's just he's still in a decent position right now. He still has some gravitas in his game that can really help him, at least socially, because he is closer with the veterans. But I will say at my number 5, I have Drew, which again, they kind of be a little interchangeable, but I have Drew just one higher because now I think the vets are willing to work with him and appreciate him a little more. But also on top of that, now that he has Melody, he has Mallory. And I do think moving forward, I think he might be in a better position. Now, do I think that position is going to stick that way? Who knows? Because if he still is under the impression that he should target Taylor and Lala, like he was saying the past few days, then he's doomed. He's doomed. And like again, what he's saying with that is dumb. He needs to target the red corner. That's what he needs to do. And likely D, Devins, and Angela will probably steer him that way. But the fact that he's been thinking about this past few days, and the fact that some of us were under the impression that he won the coin to change the HOH with the way that he was talking. Granted, I kind of figured it was still D, but the way that he was talking this week, like I don't know what the production or DR was like telling him or whatever, but he was doing some A-tier trolling. I'll say that much. A lot of people in the fandom were convinced on that. But I don't know. Drew, you better step up your game because your blissful ignorance for this week really bit you in the ass if something went wrong with anything that could have happened. But it didn't, thankfully. And I don't know if it's because Barrett kept his tail between his legs. You didn't do much with that, but I don't know. A lot could have happened that could have changed his entire week. But even with that, he still won the blockbuster. So not much could change there. After him at 4, I have Taylor. Taylor, to me, has been improving week by week by week. And with her winning the power of veto this week, and with the fact that she has good reads on the house, I think she is doing well for herself. I think she could potentially go far in this game. We just need someone from her side to get some power because I think she could definitely work with that and use that to her advantage. I just need her to show me that. Because the way that she had Lala talk to Haley and avoid going on the block, she has the agency. She has the knowledge. She knows what she's doing. But don't hit yourself to an anchor when that anchor is so going to likely pull you down at certain points. So I got my eye on Taylor. I have faith in Taylor. It's just I need Taylor to really lock in. And then at my top 3, it's all the vets. Because, again, the vets are so well positioned. The vets are playing so well. And, again, the fact that D, Devins, and Angela flipped the vote multiple times this week leading up to eviction tonight, they obviously have the social game and power to do whatever the hell they want. So, ranking those 3 at this time. Number 3 is Angela because compared to D and Devins, it has to be Angela at 3. She still has some ties to someone like Haley. She still has ties to other people in the house. And the fact that, again, her paranoia about Drew just spread about, it's like, she has some influence, I would have to say. And on top of that, now that she's actually pushing a target onto Yash, and who knows what could happen in that scenario if, like I said, Red Corner gets nominated, one gets taken off the block, Yash likely goes up. Who knows what that could go into an eviction night. Especially if it's like a Chuck versus Yash situation. That could go either way, honestly. But at number 2, I have Devins. Devins, again, he is playing decently. He is doing well. I am very much concerned, though, with the fact that he was willing to drop Drew so quickly when it would really not benefit his game at all. And then on top of that, still be on with the Diamond Power of Veto that he's willing to use it on someone like Angela or D rather than himself. But also on top of that, as we saw on the live feeds leading up to the HOH competition, that he was willing to threaten whoever with it, which that could go either way. Because if someone were to threaten me with the Diamond Power of Veto, I'd be like, okay, still putting you up on the block then. It's so that way you can waste it. I don't know. It's just like if he's still gonna go through that mindset, it could blow up in his face. But I have to give number one D because she has the most social capital. She's doing the most in this game, and again has the most influence in the house. She is what caused the blindside tonight. She is what is running this entire game right now. Everyone is D's minion, and they are willing to listen to her. And I am hoping to see what is going to fall after this whole eviction vote because it is going to be so messy. It's going to be very interesting, and seeing it all play out on the wall competition tonight is going to be amazing. So y'all better be watching it because it's going to be likely good, and they're probably going to be up there for a bit because, like I said, this is a fit cast, and I hope this cast can really deliver. But that's all I got for y'all tonight. My name is Kyle. I am the BB Brain, and it's very interesting doing this live. We'll see how this works in future formats, if I'll go back to it or not. But yeah, that's the episode for this week. I'll see y'all next week, and y'all have a good one now. If I can figure out how to end the live.